years went on. In the early 30s, Lancot was rebuilt into a G2A Super D. Both him and Ununice were eventually repainted into LMS liveries, and they'd later be painted into wartime black during World War II, and they both survived. And Ununice actually wound up being the second to last Cloten to be in service, and was withdrawn in 1947, although she somehow evaded scrapping. You see, some random ass paintworks purchased her for heating, and planned to convert her into a stationary boiler. And that random ass paintworks was on Sodor. He was brought back to Sodor via lorry in the middle of the night, so very few people, if at all, saw her, and none of the engines did either. He was plopped behind the main building for the paintworks and hooked up to be the stationary boiler. Not even the shunting engine at the paintworks knew Ununice was even there, although we'll get back into that in a little bit. As for the fate of Lancelot, he continued working under British Railways for many years, although for not much longer afterwards. Lancot gained the reputation for being quite an ass to everyone. Very few engines and even workmen even liked him at all. After a nasty accident in 1960, Lancot was withdrawn immediately. Eventually, sometime later, he ended up hitting a scrapper for a few days before being cut up by late June. No remnants of Lancot survive. As for the Red engines during this time, Red Draken worked under the LNER for many years, and lasted well into the British Railways era. He was one of the last to be in service of his class, and was withdrawn in 1966. He was initially being eyed for preservation, but due to some fatal mechanical issues internally, the preservation attempts were never fulfilled, and he was sadly scrapped by the end of the year. As for Heyman, he had a weird life after Sodor. He was bought back by the Great Western Railway during grouping, and was just plopped onto whatever branch line needed him most at the time, basically as a spare engine. His waning years on Sodor left him kinda jaded and a little depressed, and he spent ages trying to stay on his actual stopping grounds, but was ultimately defeated by the changing times. He missed his old home and his friends dearly, and longed for any chance to go home. Heyman was withdrawn in 1955, and was initially set to be scrapped. Well, until some random person came along. An anonymous collector purchased Heyman suddenly. This same collector was the one that randomly purchased a certain Q1 some years later. There's very little information known on who this collector is or why he did what he did, but he was buying random engines and literally plopping them in his backyard, purely to ensure that they survived past their withdrawal dates. And this didn't go public until after the collector died in the late 70s, and the family clearing his house discovered dozens of engines just sitting in the grass. A tremendous win for preservationists. The engines were all put up on auction and were sold to the highest bidders. The NWR actually participated in his auction and won a few engines. This included our dear Heyman. He went back to Sodor immediately. Things were put into motion to restore Heyman. During this time, the paintworks saw that Ununice was starting to fail as a stationary boiler, and so they had her removed and was initially shipping her to the works to be worked on, again by lorry. And also during the same time of transportation, Heyman was also being lorried to the works. You can just imagine just the utter shock when they came across each other, as Ununice was presumed to be scrapped along with the other engines. Tom went to the paintworks immediately after seeing this, and purchased Ununice from the paintworks. It was now going to be that Ununice and Heyman would both steam again. Restorations of both engines was arduous. A lot of dirt and grime had to be cleaned off the old paint so it could be scraped off properly. The workmen worked around the clock to restore them as soon as possible, even casting new parts whenever needed. Despite the tremendous efforts, it still took a while to restore them, given the backlog of other engines arriving that needed restoration work. So Ununice and Heyman were eventually just put in the back of the queue, and it wouldn't be until 1984 or so when Ununice and Heyman would finally return to service together on the same day. Ununice swore from then on that she would turn things around for herself and strive to be a better woman. And Heyman, on the other hand, was just happy to finally be home after so many years. Both engines were repainted to the original liveries and became mainline engines, making smaller trains and odd jobs here and there. And both engines are still in active service on Sodor to this very day. Whew! That was a lot of lore to yell about, but basically nobody's. I'm just honestly shocked that the amount of information you squeeze out of nothing characters like the loaned engines, you know? It was actually really fun creating these characters. I'm really happy with my selection of prototypes. I've never really seen many people choose them for these 4. Technically 3 depending on who you ask, but to me it'll always be 4. Now, in regards to modeling these characters, I am actually working on a model of Heyman as of recording this. And he might be done by the time this video goes up, but I could be wrong. And I also would like to get the other loaned engines modeled at some point too. Although it might be a long time before I do that, as the G2A models are pretty hard to come by and are pricey, and there's no ready-to-run Clawton class available on the market yet, but hopefully they change soon. I really hope somebody makes Clawtons. For now, Heyman will be the first loaned engine model. And the next model showcase in general will be another double up, and the 2 models for that will be revealed closer to the showcase's release date. Thank you all, as always, for watching, and I will see you all same time next week.